Okay, so let's talk about To Kill a Mockingbird Chapter 4. As always, I encourage you to read Chapter 4 to really understand what's happening in the book, and I've recorded the entire chapter in the playlist. So Chapter 4 starts with an overview by Scout, kind of critiquing the progress of the school year. Basically, she's bored. She compares the success of Atticus and his brother, who were schooled at home, and feels like she might be getting robbed or maybe is missing out on something. Since she gets out of school a little earlier than Jem, she walks home alone, except past the Radley house. She always has to run past there, until one day she notices a knothole in one of the oak trees on the edge of the Radley property. There's some tinfoil that's been stuck there that's reflecting the sun. When she goes over, she has to stand on her tiptoes, and she reaches in and she finds 2 pieces of gum in there, unwrapped. Gross, but she's a little kid, and gum is probably a big treat, so she takes them home, inspects them, and chews them right away. When Jem gets home and finds out she's chewing gum, and that gum came from the Radley lot, he freaks out and threatens to tattle if she doesn't spit it out. So remember, the superstition is that everything from the Radley house is poison. Scout spits it out as things are better than being tattled on with Calpurnia, and she doesn't want to have a run-in, so she does what Jem says. Summer is coming soon. The school year has been compressed into about 2 chapters, so Jem and Scout are looking forward to all that summer holds, including Dill visiting. They're released early on the last day of school, so Jem and Scout walk home together. When Scout points out the knothole again, she points it out like all the time. See, this is where I got the gum. They see another piece of tinfoil. So Jem grabs what's in the knothole and they run home. It's a ring box with 2 shiny Indian head pennies, which Jem thinks are good luck. Normally pennies have Lincoln on them, but before the 1900s and early first couple years of 1900, they had Indian heads. They kick around and debate who might be putting stuff in the knothole and can't figure it out. They plan on asking around the school in the fall, but go by the finders keepers rule for the time being. Jem stares at the Radley house for a little bit, trying to figure out what's going on before putting them in the trunk in his room. Dill shows up for the summer. He's lying his head off about the adventures he had on the train on the way, like helping out the engineer. Dill likes to tell tall tales. The kids start kicking around what they should play and end up talking about superstitions like hot steams. Hot steams, Jem explains, are these hot spots in the air on the road, which if you walk into them, they're really wandering spirits. So you have to say a rhyme to ward them off so the spirits won't haunt you. Scout argues with Jem that that's just talk. They decide to roll in the tire as kind of a game. They have a spare tire that they just get inside and the other kids roll them. And Scout gets to go first because she whines about it the loudest. We find out that Jem's annoyed by Scout because she was arguing with him about hot steam. So when she gets in the tire, he gives it this extra push, and Scout ends up rolling into the Radley yard by the front steps. Jem, of course, freaks out to try to get her out of the yard, and she's all dizzy and stuff, so he has to end up going and getting the tire out of the yard. After this, Jem gets the idea for a new game where they act out the Radley family's life on the front porch. And they call it One Man's Family, so it's not obvious what they're doing. The game gets really elaborate as they act it out every single day over the summer. Everything from when Boo was first arrested to when Boo stabbed his father in the leg with the scissors. So one day they're acting this out, and they're so absorbed in the game that they don't notice Atticus standing there watching. So he confronts them about having the scissors on the porch and warns them that the game better not have anything to do with the Radleys. Now Scout wants to stop playing the game, but Jem argues that technically Atticus didn't say they couldn't play it. We find out that Scout's reason for not wanting to play is not only being caught by Atticus, but she has this other reason she hasn't talked about, which is that when she landed in the Radleys' front yard when she was rolling in the tire, she heard someone laughing inside. So what do we take from this chapter? Well, for one, we get more of a picture filled in of the kids' world. That kind of innocent bubble that they live in right now, which is pretty self-centered and with only the occasional intrusion from the outside adult world. Secondly, we start to notice something is going on in the Radley or at the Radley house. Between the knothole and the laughing, we know that not only is someone active on the property, whoever it may be notices the children. So there's some mystery here. Who puts the stuff in the knothole? Is it a hiding place, or is that stuff left in there specifically for the kids? Who was laughing in the house? Obviously, somebody had to be watching what they were doing to know to laugh when Scout landed in the front yard. So, how often is someone watching them? Can that game on the porch be seen from the Radley house? Are we seeing some maturity in Scout because she won't play anymore, doesn't want to play, or is it just fear from the stories told about their creepy and mysterious neighbors? So as always, you can put questions in the comment box below, and that's chapter 4.